cross sexes is theoretically legitimate because A doesn't justify infinite abuse as it's limited to 2 areas where the negative commonly disagree on interpret rather than abusive versions that allow the application to have triggers and be the negative. That was the apple except reasonable interest in the AC before they start preference of the skew. Second, audibly implies an obligation since a multiple source number to be down. Obvious within the normative sphere P out to X. An example would be epistemic, A implies B, therefore you ought to be there might be conflicting outs there with more prohibitions. Does not change the fact that the epistemically ought to be thus. The affirmation to show an obligation, not a moral obligation, so that the organ starts sufficient negated and the affirming purpose is the only definition that addresses how duties obligate. No other definition presume a specific framework is. You can question when odds conflict is which one comes first, so I'll read that epistemic odd in the prior question. Boom. However, to understand epistemic odd normativity must be a guide to action of account for a particular kind of normativity makes the odd incommensurable. They cannot function to guide action if one cannot say why we should do the moral thing as opposed to the most pragmatic thing. The answer to why we should do the moral thing does not guide action. Normative epistemology hijacks linked to all of the normative theories. They are either wrong or they advocate the same thing the normative epistemology does first. In order to understand any action, the framework and decision rendered must go here. For example, if the ethical claim that killing is bad, but you can conclude that killing is good, or is a flaw in the deduction. In order for ethical theory to obligate people to act according to it, must first assume that epistemology is relevant because epistemology evaluates relationships between premises and moral decisions. And second, epistemology shows what beliefs are justified and how we derive them. For example, justification for Kantianism based on coherentism makes no sense that epistemology is false. If the theory comes in conflict with the dictates of epistemology, we must reject the ethical, the moral theory. And third, normative theories categorize actions that are right and wrong, which make epistemology normative as determines which actions fall into which categories wedge with. Suppose F is normative for practice if it is constituted that one make judgments about which moves are F's and which ones are not, and one is committed regularly and one's moved forward. Fourth, all of the theories assume the value of the search for truth because AC can find justified beliefs and motivation to find morality comes from motivation to find truth. So questions of truth are prerequisites to moral projects. This also means that epistemology is normative since it is the reason for engaging moral discourse, and moral judgments have characterized by wise historically means no reason to believe that our correct judgments are more accurate under uncertainty over which ought to use prefer the most more robust epistemic reasoning. Convictions are far from universal. The degree of change over time should challenge the confidence that even in judgments widely shared, infinite exposure and a range of errors are now widely due to surrounding all requirements. Once strange to have been dropped out by pessimistic induction, our own beliefs will be likely seen as perverse in respect unable to guess turns the link to case and NCs who want to compete committing to actions which are fact morally repugnant. We should prefer the epistemic sphere. Next, the after not take a stance on moral questions of resolution, which means that if the case shows the topical action bad, then this is best on the topic as it avoids arguing that the oppressive situation the topic advocates is morally good. Second, the standards consist of the action knowledge principles, so that you should not act in the way that assumes knowledge of P. That if you don't know P, the first, the action knowledge principles necessary to come from a number of epistemic odds. There are 3 reasons Hawthorne. Appraisal behavior subject knowledge is intertwined with action. Hannah and Sarah trying to find a restaurant instead of asking for directions. Hannah goes on her hunch that the restaurant is on the left to point out that she made the wrong decision you would say you shouldn't have because you didn't know the restaurant was there. Consider also knowledge that interacts with conditional orders. Opposing orders ordered to shoot only if they are trying to escape. He does not know but shoots anyway. The person will be faulted even if the person not in fact trying to escape. Consider next is blame. If a doctor used a needle, they did not know he would be safe that they were negligent. This precludes ethical theories including case A part of any normative theory explaining why people err in cases that act wrongly enough fulfilling moral requirements, and only the act provides this and B only the action knowledge principle provides an explanation for the common language of epistemic odds and common usage is the source of definition. So meeting the term the standard means the resolution is definitionally true. Second, the action knowledge principle unites the justification for action and belief, providing an epistemic explanation for both practical and theoretical rationality. Hawthorne 2. When someone acts on a belief that does not amount to knowledge, she is subject to criticism. That is why we use epistemic vocabulary in criticizing action, and analogous principle seems plausible for reasons of belief, treating the proposition that P is the reason for believing Q only if one knows P. The action knowledge principle unifies the practical and theoretical domain. This precludes the NC, including all case, all normative rules, argue that people must know or believe some things in order to act well. Only the app explains the underlying epistemic reason why. Third, the obligation to create criminal distinction from truth that has broad support in legal theory. Gonzalez. The right to do some argue that the right to direct from other rights, other states, independent of otherwise, nevertheless, the core elements are well accepted for justification consensus because people who did or living know more about the topic than high schoolers. Fourth, other theories collapse to do double line. Either A, they don't concede that truth has to be established before action, in which case their theory collapses because there's no reason why the framers was truth means that people should follow, or B, they concede truth first, and you have to maximize pursuit. And the CJS fifth, the AC turns arguments about the need to recognize oppression on the highest order. Such recognition depends on empirical recognition of the facts about cases which without which oppression can be favored over historically. For example, racist anthropology was a major source of racism. To clarify, the AC functions independent of a specific epistemic theory. Say whatever means to be true, acting inconsistently with the processes which produce truth are incoherent. This means justifying that something is the source of truth does not turn the app offense. First, plea bargaining doesn't really act without establishing the facts about the truth of the crime in which the crime is committed, violating standard Lidke. A crucial feature of adjudication is truth or falsity of the charges and assigning appropriate sanctions over or under punishment of offenders conveys falsehoods. If the CJS has discerned truth in the form of accurate verdicts of criminal acts, it must analyze, evaluate, and resolve charges supported by evidence. And informal resolution of charges and plea bargaining defeats the ability of adjudication to produce accurate verdicts. Negotiated resolution makes the truth or falsity of charges beside the point. What matters is what parties will agree upon. No crime has been committed until negotiations stipulate that crime. Second, plea bargaining actively hinders our pursuit of the truth by giving incentives to plead guilty. The truth is obscure to empirically proven imposter. Purchase testimony is inherently unreliable. Witnesses have greater interest in lying for prosecution to get a reduced sentence. Indicted individually called concurring conversation to reduce their sentence. Chicago Tribune recently examined 381 cases where prosecutors knowingly used false testimony. Cheating prosecutors were rewarded for promotions. The incentive to provide testimony is whatever gets the deal. Prosecutors reward for convictions, not truth. Prefer impacts to intentions over impacts to implementation. Problems under the standard one action theory. Action is defined by the intent, so without evaluating the intent, you can't evaluate the action. The intent unifies the action. For example, if I drink a must raise a glass of my lips and then swallow, which then have different constituent parts, making action infinitely visible. The only way to judge the top of action by looking to intent. Second, normativity only intent based actions are normative because if you held responsible responsible for things that you don't intend, and there's no reason to be moral because you can't help your actions being immoral because you're held responsible for the unintended effects of sin, causing inherently to ethics. Otherwise, there's no reason to follow morality and ethics are circular on view. First, if the negative is a violation on tier theory, reevaluate offense under the new interpretation. A as in the dark, whereas the negative adapts to the after a circle right to adapt. B is multiple legit interpretations means the F is subject to T every round. I can't predict no. My first term in C would be unfair to nullify 6 minutes. The AC is a marginally better interpretation. Their T shall justify dropping the arguments. Not me. Second theory is going to drop the negative, not the F because the negative runs the piece of arguments. Have to be able to all in the on theory against those arguments 3 into 2 hours. You can't do it. It's only drop the argument, but I guess it's going to 2 an hour. They don't need to build class time to use heat and fairness because it needs sufficient time to be able to work. This is also a reason to grant the F and every not the negative because it doesn't have time to win. Only generating defense and the negative can generate defense on theory easily win. Substance in a 6 3 if I win out into counter turbo. I'm in a tier 3, but I was spread on the 1 hour third. The opposite advantage. There's a 61% side by CNC for B 6 or 7 3 times. You see the F has to extend offense throughout the negative just 1 3 implications 1 force into quantify B slims against the structure you already inherent to. The negatives way against them side by side get it right. Yet free army because you can't prove a sufficient violation. 3 presume absence. I overcame the skill as the better rater 4 for truth testing because A is isomorphism alternative rule ballots are binary win loss and thus cannot function debate in B constituents in the ballot and taps off represented distance to after tag not who has achieved some good value. Also affirms the data proposition true negate is neither truth of which independently proves truth thing and seeing coordination determines provide focal points for debate by announcing a topic giving it salience absent that focal point debate is impossible since the chance are being compared to debate the same thing is literally zero. That means debating truth with the answer solution is required for debate fit. If both sides have offense or two theory you should affirm because a mooting theory means the better debater because a neutralizes more against less time be effective all in theory against to the time disadvantage of valuing substance or theory and no risk with the negative make theory and decisive and see the next choosing be abused regarding JGAC something component of when the information also force me to be the better theory debater if they have filled in theories of time affirming these sets better norms because the risk the theory blip side neg always wins otherwise.
Cool. Cross.
Yep.
Conal, where did all the spikes in the app and the interview come from? I'm confused. They're not on the wiki.
There's literally a thing that says spikes for Niko on the wiki.
Really? Where's that? Okay, well there's that
yes.
one. Where's the spikes in the app about why you preclude critiques?
Those aren't spikes. Those are warrants justified by cards in the framework. It's just explanations as to how it interacts with other things. I wouldn't call them spikes.
Why aren't they on the wiki then?
They're on all my citations and the taglines for every piece of evidence in the citation and the first 3 last.
But to clarify, all of the framework preclusion arguments about why your framework comes before the critiques are
those
not.
Those are not taglines. I say I disclose tags, I disclose cites, and I disclose the first 3 last 3 of the evidence that is read.
Okay, but that's not what I'm asking you about. I'm asking you specifically about the failure to disclose the reasons as to why you come before critiques.
So like any argument that's like turns linked to K's, NC's, etc. that is after evidence. Yeah, that's
okay. That's not on the wiki. That's fine. Thanks. Let's move on. Let's talk about the justifications in the interview. They all seem to appeal, they all seem to appeal to fairness. Which ones specifically are independent of fairness?
Let's see. Hold on. No. Well, truth testing isn't about that, but that's not a true argument, so I guess.
So all your theoretical arguments appeal to fairness, and most of them seem to talk about why affirming is structurally harder. What side did you tell my coach and I? Oh, look, fireworks. What side did you tell my coach and I you prefer to have in this debate?
The affirmative.
Okay, so you prefer to affirm. Why should we be held responsible for your poor decision making if affirming is actually that hard?
Because I say that this structural skew still exists.
Okay, but why should you? But if you're the one who flipped into, but if you necessarily flipped into that structural skew, why should we be held responsible for that?
Because they exist. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. I don't have any other response.
Cool. Let's talk about the. You say that you're not bound to any one epistemic theory. Well, what epistemic theory does the app function under? Are you just saying
the meta-epistemic constraint of the action knowledge principle?
And what does that entail?
So basically, it says that you cannot act in a way that assumes you have knowledge about P if you do not know P. So such that if there's an action you're supposed to take that you need knowledge about to describe that action and give some sort of reason for that action, that you cannot take that action unless you know the knowledge. The best example is in the Hawthorne analysis. If you want me to explain it.
What knowledge do I need to know, and why is knowledge?
Whatever knowledge is the basis for your justification of that.
And why is knowledge uniquely good?
Knowledge is uniquely necessary to justify action.
Why?
So that's the Hawthorne analysis and the rest of the framework, if you want me to go through that.
I just want you to give me a one-sentence explanation of
the
why.
The problem is that it's not a one-sentence explanation. It's
make it a one-sentence explanation. Why is knowledge?
All right, I can give you a one-sentence explanation of the first argument if you want.
Give me a one-sentence explanation of...
I'll give you the one-sentence explanation of the first warrant. That's the best I can do. So basically, I say that when we make decisions under any sort of framework, they have to cohere, and that only epistemology, e.g., our access to knowledge, makes it possible for us to actually have that coherence, such that we can evaluate the relationship between premises and moral decisions and any other decision.
Sure. 5 minutes of prep starting now. And also, would you mind adding me to the email chain? I'm pretty sure I'm not on there because I didn't get an email the other day.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on, stop prep for a second.
Yep.
They really having fun up there.
Seriously, I want to join them. Shit. Starting prep again.
Wait, mail delivery subsystem error, address not found.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Do you want to pause it again? And see if you have any email that exists. Maybe you mistyped it because I have a couple sticky keys. Oh wait, that's forwarding the subsystem failure. Hold on.
I don't want that.
Yeah. Probably not. Dude, try again.
Although the decision to have this round tonight was a system failure.
Yeah, true that.
Is
that it?
Yep, that's it. Should be, I mean, like,
Is there no missing letters
oh,
there?
you know what? That might be an extra high.
Don't have you up on a camp with each other. How do you not have each other's email?
I don't think I've ever debated him.
Some
You know,
stuff at
But you
camp.
go to the same camp.
I could have just put it in the camp drop lines, I guess.
Oh yeah, sure.
The same.
Alright, that's me. Look, you can have my picture there. Aw. Okay, start prep real quick. Again, I mean, honestly, I don't
Real
know.
quick. Alright, hey, no email subsystem failure.
I think this is why they make it so you don't have speaks in hours.
Oh yeah, I was just trash. I
Oh my
received an email from what was it? 69 like cool boy.
Cool guy, 69.
Oh,
Intense
no.
straight Jesuit. Just like
Oh my god, is that why?
I'm gonna do that.
That's why. Okay, stop prep. On that note, stop prep. I'm gonna send out the doc. The order is gonna be
God.
2 off,
I can't.
then 2 off in case.
Why?
Starting with case, I don't know what it's gonna be yet. Figure it out as we get there. Oh my god, what?
I love that he wears sunglasses. Like at first I thought he was just mocking me because I was wearing sunglasses at the time. So I was like, is this kid mocking me?
This is a
right now?
medical.
Like,
I wondered that when I was judging him earlier.
yeah, but he took it off earlier. He took it off like in our last bit.
oh, I think you're thinking of a different Wyatt, not Oakwood Wyatt.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, not Oakwood
Wyatt
Wyatt.
Hatfield
I
Wyatt?
thought it was
Straight.
Oakwood Wyatt. Yeah, I thought
Oakwood
he was.
Wyatt.
Oh yeah,
great.
Oakwood Wyatt's amazing.
Hey, don't mess with my lappy.
The fact that Wyatt's last name is Hatfield also just makes the meme that much more mean. So I'm trying to get this sent out. You're gonna have to forward it to all the judges because I wasn't on the email
Making
chain.
you
But
chain.
Tab
I was
really
gonna
wanted to
say, I
start
feel like
that
there's a very
round.
simple
Yeah.
solution.
Nico,
making
It's
you
like,
chain.
you have to start now.
No, you need to be reading right now. Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Yes, I don't get a dog.
Alright, hold on. I have the emails ready to copy and paste just once I get your
Thanks.
Never forget, everyone. Debate is better because of technology.
Something like that.
Sometimes you just flow everything on paper. Just have everything on paper.
So wait, it's 2 off, right?
Yeah.
They're
Perfect.
They're still going at it.
That's pretty lit.
When is the finale?
I mean, like,
It sounds like it's next door.
it does.
Like,
If
I'm
you
just
look,
like confused because those fireworks have been illegal in like Minneapolis for like 10 plus years. Like,
What are they for? Is it a holiday?
They might be like approved. Is it the Christmas parade tonight that's been at like before?
no, they've like
Okay.
suspended that
Forward.
though. They
Yeah,
they
that's no
discontinued that like
longer.
These
3 years ago.
emails- Wait, that's not even. Oh my god.
Did you get it?
Hold on. Forward.
I'm just gonna say there's no cat person.
Oh yeah, true. There's not a tab person
Wait, it's your
being like, hey.
I didn't
So right
know
now.
it was my birthday.
I just want y'all to be cognizant that these rounds being recorded.
What?
I'm gonna need you to realize that. And neither one of you are seniors, so y'all might want to shut the fuck up.
Oh! I see what you're saying now.
They ain't gonna do shit to us.
It still was bad. It just was,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
Okay. Okay. Wait, how many minutes of prep did you have left, by the way? I have 3 minutes now.
Let's do 3 even.
It's actually ridiculous.
This is such a trash dog.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm still pulling the doc.
What's it? My dumpster trash dog.
No. Oh my god.
Oh.
Fireworks.
I'm just calling this a meme around.
This really is a meme. What is going on? There were like 40 people in a hotel room on a night when the Octas wasn't supposed to happen, with fireworks going outside. Like
Alright, let's make this happen.
Okay. Does everyone have the doc?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We begin our criticism analysis of the positional black is the time is black the black bodies are defined by a positional ontology that originating from the physical violence and middle fashion and material may have changed the new symbol both at the hands of the same structural antagonism. The affirmative position success is a question of participation. This view cannot take into account the gratuitous violence and activist slave and expanding the inclusionary circle of civil society can never include blackness because it's found in contradiction to their humanism with birth from the murder of the slave Waterson. The discourse of all the works is the case for freedom of another part of human beings miraculously recognized the slave exploited human sees the image of the slave as an enabling vehicle, the great emancipatory discourse of identity predicated on remnants of suffering through slavery, the working but through both the choice of the domesticity struggles of political discontent, and the human was born without form with the black, even when blackness is deployed, especially elasticity of civil society, that expansion is everlasting enough to embrace the very black who catalyzed the expansion. The circulation of black as a metaphor and image, the most politically volatile progressive movements in history are fine in the sense that they were predicated on the idea of freedom from patriarchy, economic exploitation, heteronormativity, and so on, democratic, so on. And the affirmative represents a view from nowhere. White philosophy seeks universal answers to problems that affect different bodies in different ways. The personal cannot account to or cannot be divorced from theory, and their attempt to distance themselves from their subject position is a tactic of white privilege anti and feel the embodied self is right and deeply irrelevant to theory. We are told to reason from nowhere. The white philosopher presumes to speak for all of us without the slightest mention of his or her race identity to be apparently from nowhere for everyone is empowering to theorize the black body. One must turn to the black body. The black body's racial experience is fundamentally linked to the oppressive race white body. The body's meaning, whether phenotypically white or black, its ontology is in constant contestation. The trick of white ideology is to give the appearance of fixity where the look of white subject interpolates the black subject as inferior, bars the black subject from seeing without the internalization of the white gaze. And we don't say that you need to defend a specific mode of thought to link into the criticism. We say the fact that you appeal to epistemology in the first place is the link we impact on that. And now anti-blackness outweighs their impacts, was their impacts on ontologically mental past to create a rupture point in history and render blackness to non-human fungible objects. This manifested day in 2 pillars of social death. One is alienation, slaves and unsafe as Africans, they gave off as blacks, but their kinship structures, cultures, languages were wiped out. Other groups may be oppressed, but they have kinship structures and culture. This is not saying that other oppressions don't matter, but rather oppressions don't witness an ontological shift into is gratuitous violence being open, unending irrational violence without repercussions. This is seen throughout history and lynching, the prison industrial complex, police brutality, and other forms of violence like wage exploitation can be explained by things like capitalism, the gratuitous nature of anti-black violence, proves that it's ontological. The role of ours to answer the question of whether civil society as a whole should exist as function as a prerequisite to the affirmative framework as a question of very epistemology that renders your framework coherent or the meta-epistemology. Additionally, our framework indicates this debate is not a question of how we should act within civil society, i.e. things like the affirmative and the way that we should go about achieving epistemology, but rather a question of the way of how civil society reproduces itself and whether or not that's good. The only ethical demand available in modern politics is that of the slave and the savage. The demand for the end of America itself described one of the belly of the slave ships and the turning vertigo of constitutive genocide exposes the grammar of the affirmative call for the larger institutional acts as the fundamental fortification of white supremacy. They say that we should make the world better. We say that the world unites itself. The alternative is embracing the ethical demand of the slave and disorderly politics that burns down the civil society. Wilderson. And this magnetizing was about gratuitous violence to which civil society is possible. Black liberation makes radicalism dangerous to the United States. The conditional possibility function like a program of complete disorder. Coalitions will fail for it is from a position of coherence on behalf of a position of incoherence of the black coalitions operating within the logic of civil society, crowding out scenarios of black antagonism. The disconfiguration of civil society reclaims blackness of war, then becomes the undone but never forgotten. An endless antagonism that cannot be satisfied via reform, but pursued to the death. And next up. The decision to dispose of the 12 minutes before the debate stands and preempts as the status quo and entrapment of black debaters, theoretical interpretation, justification, and attempt to preempt decay are examples of how the preemption machine doesn't wait to be called, but rather acts and shifts in ways in their theory spikes and reasons of why they come before the critique or intellectual gymnastics for excellence and first practices or how whiteness reiterates itself. Whiteness is the background experience that creates a world governing what somebody can do while other bodies are put under stress. Ahmed. We get second once again interest rather what we're doing whiteness rather than what whiteness is doing. Whiteness is because this category through experiences is transfixed whiteness worldly. Whiteness describes the very what like here's the word whiteness becomes worldly, and after reification, whiteness could be described as an ongoing unfinished history which orients bodies in specific directions affecting how they take up space. Whiteness is an affective realization. Whiteness is real material and lived, and there's a debatable implication here. Whiteness and oppression act as severe roadblocks to oppressed bodies engaging in spaces and practices. Therefore, we can actively engage in the whiteness as a deep and effective one because we are structurally hindered from the system and practices of whiteness, which means any flaw in the whiteness or offensive the app can't be evaluated because it might have no product of the structural oppression of the practice by the app. Also means you don't get any cross applications of your spites or reasons why you come up with critiques or because your arguments are epistemically inflated insofar as we might even an iota of a reason as to why you exclude us from this round. Moreover, the whiteness attempts to preemptively bracket on second strings on certain arguments functions in normalization of the doctrine of preemption. The impact is by applying instruction of the right to life. This card uses the action of follower of post 9/11 as an empirical example of such go. Crime prevention approaches the opposite perfectly related to the spirit of the preemptive shots in the real world country by military and police measures the right to be alive is violently precluding the act of the preemptive. One is seldom able to think of another less violent solution as long as the preemptive isn't socially given of health normalization. The right to be alive would slowly erode to conditionally managed from these states by a political capture. The desire to gain critical time only if it intensifies the speed of the machine. The preemptive does not wait response. Response to no cease for disagreement. I'll call the card a disagreement, and this is especially true in the context for and against block debaters Smith 13. Competitors in when directing to abstract the distance of the conversation from the material reality the block debaters are forced to do with their media community norms would have competitors do intellectual gymnastics or make rules to accuse block debaters of breaking to escape hard conversation and really hurt to think about every season come and go and leave high school students and judges let's be the same hateful things you expect to hear at a claim rally. This is also a specific impact turn to the entirety of the 1A under review. Also, we're going to give a specific link. Conal has a tag in the app that says that's something that we shouldn't have. Our discussions of repression cannot come before things like the app. This is really fucked up. You're saying that the substance of the affirmative comes before my ability to access the affirmative in the first place is going to be an independent link to both of the oppositions and a reason for you to drop him. And debaters must be held accountable for their discourse. Judges need to be active allies and engage in the process of disturbing the flow and light of teachable movement and oppressive discourse, which his discourse certainly was. Vincent 13. Debaters must be held accountable for words they must be held accountable for the implications of the speech. Educators and adjudicators have ethical obligations to foster an atmosphere of education. They must be willing to vote against everything endorse racist discourse. They must be willing to disrupt the process of the flow for the purpose of embracing that teachable movement. The speech must be connected to the Speech Act, and you must reject racism. That's the rule making 2K. The struggle against racism is a struggle to be undertaken without concessions. One must not let the monster in the house, especially not a mass to accept the racist universe to the slightest degree to endorse fear, injustice, and violence. One cannot found a moral order. Conal's also probably going to try to extend truth testing. Remember, he doesn't get into cross application, so truth testing doesn't matter this round. Also, the entirety of the criticism is an impact term to the notion that we should appeal to truth in the first place. Cross.
Alright, starting cross eggs now. Alright, so can you explain, so there's two Ks, can you just go through what all is a link to the K that's
I'm not sure the second one would be best classified as a K.
Okay.
Maybe like a method system.
Right, okay, so it's a
giant
method
reason to
disadd
reject
to...
A lot of the things the 1AC does.
Right, so then you're
Surprise,
saying
surprise.
that there are links that the 1SA does that are disadvantaged because that are bad because of these. What are those practices for the second off, and what are the links for the first off?
Sure. So there are multiple practices in the second off. Our Ghost 6 evidence specifically contextualizes the fact that you one have like all these preempts within the app.
Okay,
This is an example of the logic of preemption, which is what destroys the right to essentially to be alive in the first place. Now our second argument, and I think that one of the most important arguments, is that the discourse coming out of the affirmative about why necessarily discussions of oppression don't matter as much as the substance of the app are really messed up, and that it says that you value things like getting the ballot, and you value things like the substance of the affirmative over the ability of debaters like me to be able to even access the space in the first place, which is a reason why the judges should reject you. This is specifically coming from the Smith evidence and the Vincent evidence that indicate that this is going to be the highest layer of the debate and a huge voting issue.
Got it.
Also, the Mimi evidence. I would say there's probably another link in that the way that you like disclose the app 12 minutes before the round, 2 without preempts, is a way to that you're able to have whiteness remained unmarked, and that silence of whiteness and the way that whiteness is able to the way that whiteness is able to remain unmarked just reifies the impacts of the first critique.
Okay, so those are the practices, and then can you go through the links of the critique?
Sure. From the first critique, the first link is going to be our first Wilderson evidence. It's specifically a humanism link. We say that the way that you like appeal to status quo perceptions of like truth and humanism and epistemology are bad. This functions as an impact term to like the entirety of the app. You can call it like
what do you mean by an impact term? Like what is the impact of the app that you are turning?
Like the thesis of the app.
Wait. So like what do you consider to be the thesis of the app that you are turning?
Sure, let's pull up the app and I'll read you some taglines.
I don't want to know the taglines. I want to know what you say, like the thesis of the app, because like you don't talk specifically on the app. I want to know what the thesis.
You make
of the
a whole
app.
bunch of arguments about like why appeals to epistemology are good, why action theory is good. We should judge like the impacts of actions and things. We're impact turning all those things. We also would impact turn the truth testing argument at the very bottom. We say that we shouldn't appeal to like
right. So what was the argument that was explicit on truth testing in like the last 10 seconds? There's something about no cross apps. Can you explain the reason?
Oh, sure. I mean, that was made earlier in the debate. We were just specifically applying that to truth testing.
So what's the reason for no cross apps?
You don't have access to any cross applications from the case to any of the off cases. Specifically coming out of the second one was the debatability implication that implies that because of the practices of the 1AC, which render us structurally unable to engage with the substance of the affirmative, the affirmative becomes epistemically inflated. You don't have the ability to cross apply arguments from the affirmative as true against any of the off positions.
Okay, starting from now.
Randall, you need water? Yes, I'm asking you.
Do I look like a butler? No, you can walk in the last up and get water.
I'll do all these people.
I can grab it up closer.
Thank you, Jason.
Actually, no, I'm gonna fill my water to these pictures too.
Thanks, Tina.
Anytime. Sorry.
Future ride.
Why don't you guys get
My own coach want to give me water.
You never asked for it. I'm
I
comfortable.
can switch coaches.
Let's screw this top off.
Oh, yeah, there's like a top, and then there's like a second top. Or you just like turn it like. There we go.
The most difficult evening of my life.
Alright, stop prep. Doing this 30 seconds remaining. Nothing new is being read. Cool. So the order is going to be so ACNT.
What's the order that you're gonna address the NC?
Oh, sorry, right. You're two off. The AC, you're second off.
You can forget about one of them and one channel.
No thanks. AC, second off, first off.
We're on the. I guess it doesn't matter. Is it underview or things?
It's just gonna be starting at like the top, basically.
Okay, sure.
I'm really sorry. Can I get the order one more time?
AC, second off, first off,
Okay,
and
thank
second off,
you.
first off being his second K and his first K.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the second. Okay.
All right. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Starting.
Now, the problem with his strategy is that he does not do any specific work on the affirmative. The problem with the affirmative is a ton of arguments that are explaining as to why we need some sort of basis of epistemology, e.g. the idea of knowledge in order to actually prove that any of these arguments that he's arguing for are true. That it's going to be the double-blind argument coming after the action knowledge principle. That's the 4 point of the framework that says that your arguments are all necessarily assuming that there's some sort of truth of the arguments that you are presenting themselves. In order for your arguments to actually matter and actually be able to conflict with the affirmative position, they have to assume the affirmative framework in the first place, because otherwise these arguments cannot be considered true in the first place. Which means you can't just say that my framework words are somehow bracketing out your arguments, because in order for you to make that claim in the first place, you'd have to assume that those arguments have some sort of truth value and have the ability to have that claim in the first place, so you can send the fourth justification. That's a double bind. They do not concede truth. It's to be established for action, in which case their arguments literally have no truth value, so they're not going to be applied in the round, or B, they concede that truth has to come first, which means you have to maximize the pursuit of truth in the criminal justice system. That goes entirely conceded, but also let's go through some of the other arguments of the framework. The other arguments of the framework, the normative epistemology, he concedes all five of the arguments as to why normative epistemology directly linked to all other normative theories. This is going to be damning, because in order for his arguments that are saying that you have to vote against me for various reasons, actually matter in the round, they have to have some sort of normative force in order to tell you that you have some sort of requirement to do these things. However, if normativity is constrained by epistemology, then the fact that he concedes all 4 reasons is why this is necessarily the case, and it's impossible to escape that, and that means that it's never possible for you to actually vote for these arguments until after you evaluate the affirmative contention level offense, which mandates you affirm, so you can go through these arguments first. You can send, in order to judge any action you have, the framework and decision rendered must go here. That goes conceded, then you can send the 2 point that says epistemology shows what beliefs are justified and how to derive them, which is the 2 point that goes conceded, then the 3 point is wedged, all these arguments are completely conceded. They are with the negative because before the argument can be true in the first place, they are necessarily constrained by these arguments. He also concedes that epistemology is normative prerequisite to actually engaging in any sort of discourse that actually criticizes some sort of immoral actions or some sort of actions that deems it as necessarily innately negative. That's going to be taking out all his arguments now also. He concedes the app does not take a stance on the moral question of the resolution. We see that there's some sort of K. The affirmative is bad in some instances. The app is the best on the topic because it was arguing that the oppressive situation on the topic is a morally good thing in the first place. But also you can say that the epistemology of the affirmative is somehow negative. He makes a ton of reasons in his criticism as why it comes before epistemology. And then in one of the instances he accepts that it also applies to meta-epistemology. But so far as literally none of his warrants are actually reasons that's come before epistemology, and the entire case predicated on ontology, which is also necessarily constrained by epistemology because where we can study being, we have to be able to actually have some sort of knowledge about being in the first place. That means that the framework actually necessarily still precludes that in the first place. So you can also send the conceded standard. You can send the fact that this precludes all ethical theories, including criticism in the first place, because before we can actually have some sort of ethical theory that demands that we act in some certain way or necessarily condemn any sort of action, you have to look to the action knowledge principle in the first place. So that's all preclusive, all conceded out of the AC. You have to give me 100%. You have to give me 100% credence on these arguments. You can extend. You can action level offense. If I win the framework, I win the round. But now let's real quick go to the underview. I'm just gonna be going for truth testing. You can, first of all, don't let me say that I can cross-apply to his positions because I'm not cross-applying it to his position. I'm literally just saying that truth testing is the necessary real valid, and saying that truth testing comes first and necessarily preclusive. It's on the AC flow still, so you're not drawing a line between my flow and his flow, which means that the cross-application argument goes away. You can send the conceded 3 reasons is why we have to look at truth testing. Isomorphism goes conceded, which means that even if he says that his world valid is necessarily a very important thing, and that the independent impacts that he's saying are necessarily important, that doesn't matter because those aren't binary will not, so they can't actually apply to the valid in the first place. That goes straight conceded, which means that it's impossible for you to use his arguments as some sort of a method to evaluate what the ballot says, and then you can look at the constitutivism argument that goes conceded. The role of the round in the first place is to affirm and negate the resolution as more true or false, which is going to necessarily be conclusive because that's what is independently. He concedes that it independently proves truth testing, but he also concedes the coordination argument, which means that even if his arguments are true, that doesn't matter because those arguments that are happening in a debate, they're happening in an instance where he's saying these arguments and saying that I cannot respond to these arguments, which means it's not a debate in the first place because there's no chance that we actually have some sort of coordination by chance. Now we're going to real quick go on the criticism. So on the second half, the problem is that I only have framing effects on theory. There are not any sort of actual interpretations that exclude your ability to have any sort of arguments, and also the arguments that are saying that they are preclusive to the K. First of all, you have to respond to the justifications you can because your arguments are still constrained by truth in the first place, but also it's key to my arguments are necessarily saying that it's key to having a debate in the first place because which means that even if my arguments are exclusive, that means that it wouldn't be a debate round anyway. But also I don't value some sort of necessary moral good, which means it takes up the first K.
Cool. 3 minutes of prep starting now. What was the response to Go evidence?
What?
The Go evidence? What was the response to the Go evidence?
No specific analysis on Go.
Okay. Cool. Order's going to be the second off and potentially the first off. There will be cross applications and like framing throughout the. And no new cards or anything like that. Okay. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay. It's going to be a 3-0 for the negative. The lesson of this debate is that not everything is about the flow. There are some things that are more important than that. You know, you can extend the cold conceded debatability implication, which indicates that Conal doesn't have access to any of his offense because it is all epistemically inflated, which means that you can assert that it is true in the 1AR, which is all the 1AR relies on, i.e. things like the cross application of truth testing as a reason to take out the offense on the second off. But you have conceded that I was structurally disadvantaged and was not able to engage with the 1AC, which means that you don't get access to your offense. This was cold conceded, even if you don't want to vote on it, you're going to have to now. Also, the only argument also, you can extend the Vincent and Mimi analysis. There are two parts of this analysis. First off, the Vincent analysis. Conal concedes that the judges have an obligation to disrupt the process of the flow and like to teach debaters and to reject instances of oppressive discourse. Now, Conal's also conceded that this Conal has also conceded the Mimi analysis, which says that the decision to reject racism must be rejecting racism is a battle that must be fought without concessions. Even if I am losing things on the flow technically, as long as I am winning a reason as to why the discourse of the 1ACU is bad, you still have to vote there. It is a reason, or it is something that we learn from the round. Now, you can also the main argument we're going to extend here is the argument that the discourse of the 1AC was problematic when they say that when they say that we should. I'll read to you the exact line. Hold on. They say, fifth, the AC turns arguments about the need to recognize oppression on a higher layer, end quote. They have conceded that this is going to be a linkage to the second criticism. They say that the substance of the affirmative is more important than debaters like myself having access to rounds like this, which is really damning on their part. It means he agrees that it was something he shouldn't have said. He agrees that it is a reason that you should vote against him. The round should end right there. But that's not how debate works. I have speech times, I guess. So let's go on. You can also extend the go evidence. Conal says that there was no specific response to the go evidence. This is also very damning. You've conceded that the way that the 1AC brackets out certain arguments that are legitimate, the way that the logic of preemption that surrounds there, like K preempts, is uniquely problematic because it reaffirms biopolitics. This was cold conceded out of the 1AR. Your only response was that we have to respond to the specific justifications that you give, that this is just factually not true. If we impact turn the justifications that you give, there's no reason as to why we should have to respond to there's no reason as to why we should have to respond to those specific justifications on line by line. Also, we would say that an impact turn to your justifications, which is what the Go 6 evidence was, is a specific response to your justification, so there's no reason as to why we didn't specifically respond. Sure, let's go to the second off. You can extend the rule about this debate is a question of whether or not the decision to reject civil society, whether or not civil society is good in the first place. Cole concedes the rule about means that all of the offense he goes from the last speech is functionally defense because none of it proves why civil society is necessarily good, which means that we are still going to be winning that. The alternative is not better than anything the affirmative does now. Conal tried to extend truth testing against the critique. We say that one of the critique can still function under truth testing paradigm because we prove that the affirmative is false too. We say that we have already impact turn truth testing in the 1AC. You've conceded that the critique functions as a giant impact turn to multiple parts of the 1AC, including the appeals to truth. Now, you say there's no links because you are you said that there's not necessarily a link because you don't, or because you're like a form of meta epistemology, and that or that access to epistemology is a prerequisite to truth in the first place. A couple reasons this doesn't matter. One, you've conceded an impact turn as to whether or not we should look to access epistemology in the first place. The entirety of the thesis of the critique is that we should not actively appeal to Western modes of or Western epistemologies. B point is that you've conceded an impact turn to truth. So insofar as that is the terminal impact of that argument, there is no reason to prefer that argument. Let's see. Let's go to. Okay. As in. Oh, okay. The only other piece of offense that Conal has in this debate is this argument that the 1AC necessarily hijacks the internal into all other normative theories. There's a couple of reasons why this is problematic. First, you say, first, even if that would be true for normative theories, nothing that the 1AC is a normative or in fact, all of the offense of the 1AC could be classified as anti-normative because it says that even if there are normative justifications for why Conal should be winning, the judges should actively vote against that. You can vote against that on the critique, which impact resolutions, or you can vote against that on the second off, which proves that there are things more important than normative theories and things like that. To give an overview for how this round breaks down, we're winning very handedly on the second off. Conal concedes too much of the 1AR to have any offense up in this round. Cole concedes a debatability standard. The implication of that is that he doesn't have access to the offense in the 1AC. Means he does not get to leverage any part of the AV or any part of the underview against the second off. He has conceded the link there, which is that the discourse in the 1AC was uniquely problematic because it tells debaters like me, it doesn't matter if there are things that keep you from engaging in these rounds, the substance of the 1AC is more important. He has also conceded very key framing evidence coming out of the Vincent and Mimi analysis that says that this is, one, should be where you make your decision, and two, that you should disrupt the process of the flow, which means even if he wins on every other layer, and even if he wins it handedly, you still vote right there. It's a clear decision.
I didn't write how much prep time done. Did somebody?
I thought it was 3:30 or something like that.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay, 2:30? Okay, let me put that down. And hold on. Freaking iPhone. Starting now. Okay.
Jeezy just dropped a new album.
Who?
Jeezy.
Really? What? It's on Spotify.
Who uses Spotify? That's impressive. It's an album, so that.
Alright, that's all I need. So the order is going to be, so it's going to be AC. Well, actually, sorry, it's going to be on his second off, or first off. He called it the second off. It's first off with, okay, first off, AC, and there might be some analysis on the second off.
Wait, get to that last. So which one? Are you doing Wilderson or?
Okay, Wilderson.
Okay. So,
Sure. Which one is Wilderson? Whatever, it doesn't matter. I know the arguments.
which one is Wilderson?
Okay, well, my flows are really messy. All right, 3 minutes. Are judges ready? Yes? Okay, levels. All right, starting.
Now there are going to be 3 really easy places for you to vote for. The first is a huge mistake. He's saying that his arguments are anti-normative. He concedes the analysis says that for any of you judges to actually vote on any of the arguments he reads, they have to be normative. They have to have some normative person give you some reason. That's why you have to vote for them. Normativity is the fact that they can, any sort of argument can control your action in the first place. If his arguments are anti-normative, that means that you cannot vote on them because they're not any reason for you to vote for him in the first place. And he concedes all the reasons. That's why I control the internally to normativity. He just says that it doesn't apply, but the fact that he concedes the analysis says he needs normativity in order for any of arguments, and any of his arguments matter no matter how true they are. That means that my framework always comes first, which means you have to analyze whether or not the affirmative is true. What am I framework in the first place? Which always comes first. It's going to be a really easy place to vote. Now the second point is on the app. big mistake on the analysis of truth testing. He concedes that if we're not evaluating truth testing, he concedes your analysis is that the truth testing argument escapes his argument as to why I cannot cross-apply it to his position. First of all, he says in his speech that I cannot cross-apply anything from the affirmative to the second off case, but his role about is read in the first off case, which means that I can still cross-apply it to the first off case in the first place. But also, you can see that truth testing is extended absent the other two off cases because it's extended on the affirmative flow, which means there's no line drawn between the affirmative and his off cases in the first place. And he concedes that anything that is not truth testing is not debate itself. Even if it's an important thing, it's not something that happens in the debate sphere because there's literally no coordination. There's no possibility to have a debate after some sort of focal point. Debate has to be over the truth or falsity of the resolution. Whether or not you impact turn truth doesn't matter because you impact turn truth is something that is happening outside of a debate. In the first video, you also can see the isomorphism argument, which says that even if it is the case that we should analyze your arguments and analyze your offense, and you have some sort of truth impact turn to truth in the first place, that doesn't matter because that analysis is not a binary win loss. There's no way to assign that to the battle in the first place, which means that it's going to take out all of your offense as well. So that's going to be the easiest voting issue. But then also, let's go to the AF framework. This is going to be the easiest place for you to vote because on the affirmative framework, you can see the 4-point after the standard that says that every argument that he reads is necessitates that he has looked at my framework because before he can actually have some sort of true arguments in the first place. That means you have to look at my framework. The problem is that in his last speech, he's saying that he's impact turning truth. Impact turning truth makes literally no sense because in order for your argument as to why we have to impact turn truth to matter, it has to be true in and of itself in the first place. Which means that not only can you not impact turn truth, but also literally every argument you make in the last speech is constrained by the affirmative framework because before anything can matter, it has to be true in the first place. That goes entirely conceded as something that is the highest constraint in the round. Before your arguments matter, you have to evaluate the affirmative framework because only the affirmative framework can account for the truth of arguments, especially the arguments that you are saying constrain truth in the first place. That is going to be the key point. So now, real quick, so you can extend that argument. That is the justification after the action knowledge principle. It says in order for us to have truth in the first place, you have to look to my framework. Again, I've already extended the four. We can extend the 4 reasons as to why we have to have some sort of truth in order to have normativity and look to meta epistemology. That's the those are the 4 conceded arguments. You can re-extend those. That's the first. In order to judge any action, we have to have a random decision here, and the Wedgwood. Those are conceded. Very easy analysis, and then you can seize the entirety of the offense of the AC again. So because you have to analyze the AC first, that means you're going to be voting there. So basically, the way the round breaks down is first there are the three voting issues. First is that he says he's anti-normative, means you can't vote on any of his arguments. Second is truth testing. It's extended, and it says that your arguments are not in a debate sphere because they have to be about some sort of actual isomorphic topic. Good faith. Yeah.
Congratulations to both debaters for reaching the prestigious octafinals round of the Blake Invitational. It is a 3-0 for the negative from Kamiak. I can go first. I'm sort of dissatisfied with the whole judging process, and I think both of y'all are going to be dissatisfied with this decision one way or another. And the reason that I'm dissatisfied is that I'm really uncertain what to do with all these competing preclusion arguments. I count at least 5 arguments at the end of both rebuttal speeches that claim to be the single highest argument in the debate round on which my verdict will be turned. So my first question is, how am I supposed to compare them? And I think, well, first I can look to the weighing arguments being made in round, and unfortunately those are few and far between. And they aren't weighing in terms of like the likelihood of the claim. They are usually just technical weighing arguments like this was dropped or this is logically prior to that. So I don't know how to resolve those competing weighing arguments because there aren't any meta-level arguments telling me how to resolve like logical questions of logical priority when both of you are claiming that exactly the same things are logically preclusionary to the other. So that's what's going on in my head. So I think if I should make a decision, I should think how I would vote app and how I would vote neg and see which is more plausible. That strikes me as the only decision procedure I have left, as well as the one that's least interventionist. So if I vote app, I'd have to say, first, truth testing takes out the Wilderson role of the ballot, and either one of 2A, truth testing means I can't evaluate the method DA, or 2B, the method DA appeals to truth, and so therefore presupposes the AC's normative epistemology thing. One is hard to adjudicate since the Wilderson role of the ballot is framed as impact turning truth, but I end up thinking that the Wilderson role of the ballot is not on the same layer, since it is concerning things like the topic and not like accessibility within the debate space. 2A doesn't seem true. The fairest interpretation is that the method DA and truth testing interact somehow, so I would rather resolve the round without like dealing with this issue if I can because of the stuff above about like competing logical priority. 2B is probably the easiest thing for me to hang the round on. I could affirm on 2B if I think it's true. I end up thinking it's false. The easiest place I can negate is on the accessibility argument. I don't understand the impact turns truth in the sense that I find it hard to think that truth is false or whatever is meant to it, but I think I could say that the project of engaging in a search for truth, like normative epistemology, is bad because the way that it has happened in this round has been inaccessible to people. I don't really understand what it means to say that it's been inaccessible to people, but that is a conceded argument, so I don't have to get into that. That's how I decided around.
Yeah. I evaluate similarly. I mean, I think like you guys just didn't engage with each other at all. Like somehow like you only would answer like one or two arguments the other person made in each speech, which is just like not how the debate round should be structured. Like I don't know why like Niko, you're 2 and R, like you should have just gone for one of the offs and then spend the rest of the time like line by line in the app. And like it makes it hard to resolve, but like I think that Neg is just definitely ahead in terms of the preclusion arguments and is definitely on the right side of the issue. Like the arguments are just conceded that like the judge has to care about racism in the debate space, and like maybe the judge also has to care about truth, but like they do have this obligation, which is Cole conceded, to prevent things that are actively racist. And then you like concede that you've done something that limits accessibility, that's actively racist, and that the majority of the app is something that wasn't accessible to him. Therefore, we don't know the validity of the app because he didn't have the ability to engage in it. So I feel pretty comfortable voting on the claim that the majority of the app is something that he wasn't able to engage in, and that he has a strong strength of link to something that is definitely an obligation that the judge has. Niko, I think the arguments that you're making about impact turning truth, like, definitely have to be framed in a different way, because, like, it is true that we do care about if your arguments are valid, but I think that the way the app is trying to use truth to take it out is just, like, wrong. Like, you're like, yeah, my arguments do care about truth. They are true. They just recontextualize what sorts of things I care about in the round. But I care, all of the truth links in the app are about strictly, like, if the resolution is true in terms of our relation to plea bargaining. You're just recontextualizing the things that we should care about being true. And then that makes all of the preclusion arguments in the app go away.
Okay. Yeah, totally agree on that.
But yeah, so more interaction, but like racism is definitely bad. The app was conceded to be racist, so like you have to vote against it.
I have to run this here policy. Can I ask a question quick?
Yeah.
In what way is the app racist, and on what level do we mean that, like in some kind of technical way, or did Conal say something like really stupid, or?
I mean, like, I'm not going to get into like my personal views, but it was conceded out of the NC that the app's argument that like we should care about the truth of the app before we're able to talk about oppression is something that like excludes people.
Okay, cool.
So like I don't know the extent of which that's true.
Sure,
but, like,
sure.
Yeah.
But it's not like
Oh no,
Conal stood up and
I mean,
said something monstrous. But
yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that he would, but you never know.
But now that you stole my Oreo, it'll be a link next time.
I don't really have a ton to add. The way in which I vote is I go down the order in which you guys kind of tell me to vote. Like I kind of starting with like Conal's speech. Like I'm trying to like evaluate these like normative claims and like the truth testing arguments from the framework. And I just don't think it's like super interactive with where the negative is telling me to vote in their final speech, because like they're basically like, I agree that there are a ton of like this is the highest layer claims. And like I think there's several times, especially in the final neg rebuttal, that like basically like, oh, like this is the highest layer. I think you say this is the highest layer like 3 separate times on 3 separate issues, and like I'm just like, what? Okay, which one is it then? Like I have them marked as 1A-1B-1C, like as like the layers to be going for. But effectively, like when I like break things down, I ended up just like, you say highest layer on all 3 of them, and then I just go in order of which you said them. But anyways, the way that effectively like breaks down is that I agree that the second off basically outweighs sections of engagement that functionally makes it so that claims of like truth testing onto the off case effectively makes it so that I vote neg.
Lit, thanks.
All right, Conal, if you have any questions.